Sarah was born in a small town in Ohio. From the beginning, she was different. Not because of her heart, her mind, or her spirit, but because of her size. In a world where little girls were praised for being thin, Sarah grew up hearing one word again and again: big. At birthday parties, she noticed how other mothers whispered about her. At school, she noticed how boys laughed behind her back. And at home, even her relatives compared her to her cousins, asking her mother why Sarah wasn't more like them. She learned early that people were more interested in her body than in her soul. But Sarah was not just her weight. She was bright. She was kind. She was talented. She loved painting. She loved reading. She loved helping others. But no matter what she did, the world seemed blind to it. By the time she entered high school, the rejection had already carved deep scars inside her. Friday nights in her town were all about football games. Couples held hands in the bleachers. Girls wore pretty dresses. And Sarah sat quietly in the back row, hoping someone would see her. She longed for the simple things: to be asked out, to dance in the gym during homecoming, to be called beautiful. But year after year, no one asked, no one noticed, and each silence felt louder than words. Her senior year, when prom season arrived, Sarah bought a dress, a soft blue gown that sparkled under the light. She hid it in her closet, waiting for the day someone would ask her. But that night never came. Instead, Sarah sat alone, scrolling through her phone, watching photos of smiling couples. Her dress remained untouched, still hanging with the tag on, a painful reminder of dreams that never came true. That night, she cried herself to sleep, believing the cruelest lie of all, that she was unworthy of love because of her body. Life after high school wasn't kinder. She applied for jobs, but during interviews she saw the quick glances, the way people's eyes flickered over her size. She worked hard, but promotions always went to others. On dating apps, matches ended the moment her full photo appeared. Sometimes she received cruel messages. Sometimes, worse than cruelty, complete silence. Each rejection cut deeper. Each comment, each laugh, echoed in her chest like a wound that wouldn't heal. Years went by, and Sarah stopped dreaming. She lived quietly, going to work, coming home, and painting in the silence of her small apartment. She believed life was something that happened for other people, the thinner, prettier, more acceptable people, not for her. But life has a way of breaking you, and then asking, who will you become after this? One winter night, after another rejection, Sarah stood in front of her mirror. She stared at her reflection, at the body she had hated for so long, and for the first time, instead of crying, she asked herself a question. Why do I need their approval to exist? The question echoed in her chest. That night, she pulled out her journal and wrote words that would change her life. I will not shrink myself to fit into a world that is too small to hold my worth. The next morning, something shifted. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was a quiet rebellion, a whisper of strength inside her soul. Sarah stopped living for others. She began living for herself. She started painting every evening, not just as a hobby, but as an act of survival. She joined a local art group, nervous at first, but soon discovering a community of people who didn't see her weight, only her work. Her paintings carried the emotions she never spoke aloud: loneliness, shame, dreams, hope. And slowly, people began to notice. She posted her work online, hesitant at first, but soon strangers left comments. Your art moved me. This painting feels like my story too. You have a gift. For the first time in her life, Sarah was seen, not for her body, Not for her size, but for her soul. Her following grew. Local cafes asked to hang her paintings. One day, an email arrived that made her heart race. A gallery in New York City wanted to feature her work. The night of the exhibition, Sarah stood in the gallery, her heart pounding. People from all walks of life stopped to admire her paintings. They didn't whisper about her weight. They didn't laugh. They stood in awe. And as she looked around, Sarah realized something powerful. The same body they had rejected had carried her through every struggle, every tear, every brushstroke, every step that led her here. Her body was not her enemy. It was her vessel. It was her strength. It was her home. That night, she didn't feel like the girl who never got asked to prom. She didn't feel like the woman rejected on dating apps. She felt like an artist, a survivor, a woman who had finally discovered her worth. Her story was never about losing weight. It was about losing shame. Sarah's journey taught her, and everyone who heard her story, you are not too much. You are not less. You are exactly enough. Because beauty isn't found in sizes, or numbers, or the approval of others. It's found in courage, in resilience, in the refusal to give up on yourself. Months later, when Sarah gave her first public talk, she looked out at the audience. Young girls, women, men, all carrying their own battles. And she told them, they told me I was too big to be loved, too big to be successful, too big to be seen. But the truth is, I was never too big. Their vision was too small. The room went silent. Tears filled the eyes of strangers. In that moment, Sarah's pain had transformed into power. Her rejection had become her message. Her scars had become her strength. Today, Sarah still lives in her small town. She still paints. She still shares her story. But now, she walks with her head high, not because the world changed, but because she did. She no longer waits for an invitation to the dance of life. She creates her own music, her own stage, her own spotlight. And if you ever feel rejected, if you ever feel unseen, remember Sarah's story. Because sometimes, the world doesn't need you to fit in. It needs you to stand out.